what will be the introduction to the grand MozFest Web Monetization Experiment. So today we're going to dive into a little bit about what that's all about, as well as about what the Web Monetization Standard is all about. And because we've got a small enough space right now, I just thought we'd do a quick popcorn if people want to introduce themselves, where they're from, what they're excited about this week or about web monetization. That would be awesome. And since you just turned on your camera, Kevin, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Like I said a moment ago, I'm Kevin. I'm actually a staff member here at Mozilla Foundation based in New York. Yeah, super interested in web monetization and the alternatives that it provides to the way the web functions right now. So I'm excited to learn more about this experiment, and then more broadly, how it can be applied to the internet.
Wonderful. Dominique, do you want to jump in there next?
Hi, I'm Dominic. I'm a curator based up in the northeast of England, and I was part of the mural team that was a grant recipient earlier in the year. Yeah, it's me. Nice to meet you all.
I was talking to Doug about mural earlier, so if you later in the call, if you want to just introduce a little bit about what it's all about to people, if you don't mind being put on the spot.
No, yeah, I can talk till the cows come home about it. Yep, no problem.
That would be awesome. Jasper, do you wanna introduce yourself?
Hello. Well, nice to meet everybody. Looking forward to the session. So I'm just here to listen and chip in where possible.
Wonderful. Alex? Okay, we'll come back to you, Alex. Lancelot? You're muted, Lancelot.
Speaking to myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Lance from Joburg, South Africa. I am a data engineer by profession, and my interest in the web monetization technology is in how we can apply it to democratize services to the marginalized in low income brackets. So keen to learn a lot about the technology and how we can apply it locally.
Wonderful. And Francesca? I might be pronouncing your name wrong. Oh. Your volume's super low. Maybe if you pop your introduction into the chat. Sorry, your volume's so low that I don't think we're having just a bit of difficulty hearing you. Sarah.
Hi, I'm based in Cape Town in South Africa. So I work at Coil developing the WordPress web monetization plugin, which actually makes it easy for people to set up monetization on their own WordPress sites. And I just wanted to support the session today and hear more about what people are saying about web monetization.
Wonderful. I know I'm a big fan, so
Yes.
Bruno.
Hello, Bruno. I work with a collective named Colab based in Brazil. We work with community networks and community tools like local servers, and then I'm curious about the monetization strategy from Mozilla. Right now I'm based in Barcelona, not in Brazil, but I work with the community networks over there. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's great to have you here today. And Andy. I think we lost Andy. Ray.
Hi, sorry, I just now joined a little late, so I don't know the prompt.
Just introduce yourself. We're just doing quick popcorn before we get started here.
Yeah, my name is Ray. I'm a software engineer at a startup called Maven.com, and web monetization is a very interesting and important topic to me.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to have you here today. And Indra Mani? Oh, lost Indra. Terry.
Yes, hi. I'm artistic director of a new festival called Privacytopia, and I'm also co-organizer of CPDP in Brussels. It's the Computer Privacy and Data Protection Conference. Voilà.
Interesting. Thank you. Mott?
I'm a retired systems programmer. I have an interest in journalism and investigation and privacy and things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Chris P.
Chris introduced himself on the chat and isn't feeling so great.
Oh, so. Okay, thanks. And Douglas.
Hi, I'm Douglas Arianes. I am a former Mozilla or MozFest Wrangler. Was last year in the last year's cohort, and I'm the co-founder of a tool called Mural, which allows you to create single-page web apps that are sort of scrolly telling. They combine video and audio and text and sound, and the new version of Mural is web monetization compatible. So I'm really interested in the topic, and I'm glad to meet you all.
We're glad to have you here. Hopefully Douglas will share a little bit about Mural, maybe with Dominic a little later in the call. And Charles.
Hi, I'm a systems engineer. I currently work in medical robotics, and I'm interested in this because I used to run some decentralized wireless networks out in Ghana, and I'm kind of interested in how it can be used to enable these kinds of services to run and sustain themselves. So that's why I'm curious about this. Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you. And Raimundo?
Hi, everyone. I'm Raimundo. I'm a PhD student in mathematics and just generally interested in web monetization.
Wonderful. And Stephanie?
Hi, I just popped in, so I wasn't sure what the question is.
Just introduce yourself.
I'm Stephanie McVicker. I am a researcher and I work with disinformation with PropWatch and Reality Team.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks. And Newman?
Oh, I never like these things. Introducing myself to a bunch of random strangers on the internet. But hey, the internet is beautiful. Life is beautiful. We're all beautiful. Enjoy your morning. Hello, I'm Newman.
It's nice to meet you, Newman. And Shamika? Oh, you're muted, Shamika.
Sorry, guys. I was in my browser because, yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Hi, Chris. Hi. I'm sorry. I am Shamika Emmanuel, and I actually was one of the first cohort to judge some of these proposals. So I know Chris from a couple of years back, and I saw this on the schedule, and I said I have to go there and support him or heckle him. Either way, I had to be here for this. I don't know if I answered all the questions. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. That's awesome. Heckling Chris is good. And the other Chris that just joined our call. Okay. Vanille?
Sorry,
Oh,
is that
there
me?
he is. Yeah, that's you. Nice to see your smiling face.
Good to be here.
Do you just want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah. I am moving into software engineering, coming from a marketing background. And I have a big interest in, I guess, the landscape of the web and the directions that it's heading. So I'm stopping in to learn a little more about web monetization.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here today. And I'm just trying to think, have I missed anybody? Jasper, I think it was it you? Did I miss you? Oh, no, you were right at the beginning. Kevin, did I miss you?
Nope, I got to go early on, but thank you.
Okay, sorry. And Lucy, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm with the MozFest team, and I've been working with Chris and Erica on this amazing project, and learning loads as I go along. So it's good to be here, and I'm excited to see how this develops and hearing a lot of the examples. Like, I'm really excited to hear from Douglas as well. It's really nice to see you again. So yeah, looking forward to the session.
Wonderful. And this is Miss Ella. And Vanille, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. This is Vinit. I've just joined as a community manager with IntelliJ Foundation, and I'm really excited to explore all the projects that are using the content and their assets for the monetization. And I look forward to getting in touch with some of you and learning how you are using those things. I'm dialing in from Hyderabad, India.
Wonderful. And Chris Lawrence.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris. I'm from the Interledger Foundation, and I'm excited that you all are joining us.
So on that note, I will share my screen. I'm Erica, and this is Miss Ella. And I'm a storyteller and an educator and a huge fan of web monetization. So I am going to share my screen, which looks like it's having an issue right now. So I am going to, rather than share my screen, I'm going to not share my screen instead. And I'm going to quickly, I'll pop up the slides that I was going to show you quickly from Dropbox so that people can see what it was that were like the slides that I'm walking us through, since of course, when you don't want a problem to happen with your internet, that's when it decides to create an issue. So while I'm just waiting for that to happen right now, I would like to invite all of you to the Grand Web Monetization Experiment. And so what this is, and this is like super exciting. If you just were to think about it for a second, what if you could financially support the people, causes, content that you love on the web with the web? And so that is exactly what we are planning on doing throughout MozFest with the help of COIL and Interledger and the Web Monetization Standard. And so this is exactly what the Web Monetization Standard was designed to do. So while creating a more equitable web where more people can control and benefit from their creative control, without having to rely on advertising, data mining, larger platforms, and subscriptions. And so I'm just going to quickly right now, while you just think about how wonderful the world would be with that, I am going to quickly grab you a link to the slides. So Okay, I'll pop it in our chat here. Possibly, Chris, if your screen wants to show things, you can always bring that up on your screen. If not, people can just follow along on there if they wish. So what the web monetization experiment is all about, and this is like what is like sort of what's going to be happening as this giant web monetization incubator experiment during the festival. All of you will have received an email, and the email would have invited you to a COIL subscription. So COIL is currently the platform that allows one to sort of both to send micropayments from a membership and then also to receive it to your web monetized content online. And so with this, basically COIL is giving everybody at MozFest 6 months, and they're giving them 6 months of a COIL membership, which means that all of you for 6 months will have $5 US of a membership that whenever you're spending time on other people's platforms online, you can actually stream micropayments to that platform, provided it's web monetized. So, for example, Chris, would you mind just bringing up maybe the web monetization community on your screen?
I need to get. I'm working on getting myself able to share my screen.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just shared it so that anybody can share their screen. So
there we go. There's your slides.
Excellent. Oh, fabulous. Okay, do you mind just sort of leaping ahead to slide number? That one, thank you. So if you visit a web monetized platform online, so say, for example, the Web Monetization Community Forum is web monetized and all the different users on there have different payment pointers set up, then the time that you're spending on there is going to start sending little tiny micropayments to whoever the creator of that post is. And the beauty for all of you for the next 6 months is COIL has prepaid all that. So, and the nice thing is that when you sign up for that COIL membership, they're not going to ask you for any of your fees or anything like that. So they're not going to ask you for your credit card or anything like that. And at the end of the 6 months, if you don't want to continue with the membership, you don't need to do anything. It just will end, and you don't need to put, anything to say that I no longer want this membership. Now, the other beauty with the whole thing is that COIL is actually constantly free for any creators out there that are that wish to web monetize their content. So you can web monetize your content this week as you're doing different experiments from MozFest. And when you web monetize that content, even if you let this COIL membership lapse afterwards, it will still remain web monetized. You can still earn from the membership. So, for example, I've got, some digital magazines. Whether my COIL members that have got the COIL plugin on them and that I'm web monetizing. So whether or not I am web monetized or not, those are like whether I've got the membership with COIL or not, I can earn from that content. And so if you look at Chris's screen right now, he's got this this C up there. Actually, it might be something different in his dashboard, so I'll leave that be. Now, the other thing, and this is the super exciting thing for everybody who's already in the web monetization community at the festival, is that COIL is also releasing these accounts with a brand new feature. It's this brand new tipping feature. And they are pre-stocking all of your accounts with $10 US in prepaid tips. And so those are tips that you can give out to anybody's content at MozFest that has web monetized their resources. And so this week, and Chris, if you don't mind flipping to the next slide. This week, I will be sort of teaching, and this content will remain up even after the festival. I'll be teaching everybody how to web monetize their content online. And so we've created some different spaces for that. The space that is the most full at the moment is over on Slack, and there's a channel on Slack called Web Monetization Educational Resources. And so there you'll find a whole ton of resources. In the Google Doc that Chris has shared, if you scroll down to the bottom of that too, in the Web Monetization Forum, you'll also find, a how to get web monetized course that we're setting up. And the first unit, which touches on some of the things we go over today, is all up there, and so that you can follow through and dive deeper into web monetization. Now, the big question is okay, I've web monetized my resources. How do I let people at MozFest know that these are web monetized resources so that they can spend their tips on those things? And Chris, just so you know,
I'm trying to get back.
Okay.
I was trying to pop the document out so I could read at the same time.
Oh, sorry about that. So that people can find your content, we're going to be creating some gallery spaces. And so one of the spaces we're doing that in is in Slack. There's a channel there that is called Web Monetized Assets. That's a space where we invite you to come and to share anything that you are web monetizing at the festival, and we'll share that out there with the broader audience, both through the Slack channel and sort of through other spaces like Twitter. And we'll be putting all of the content that we find there into our web monetized resources galleries. And so we're building one in Spatial Chat and one on Mozilla Hubs. Spatial Chat will specifically be for the 3 months that the festival's opened. And then the one in Mozilla Hubs will be an evergreen space where people can kind of go back to it and find stuff for longer periods of time. We're also inviting people to sort of submit an action plan to the Web Monetization Forum of the things that you're web monetizing. And so that is so that during so that the people in the web monetization community can also discover you, and because that'll also be evergreen content. And that's a really wonderful space to be sharing, because you can learn about all different people's projects like Douglas's and Dominique's, who are on our call today. And Chris is just giving us a little sneak peek of that right now. So you can see Douglas just posted on there about Mural, which we'll get him to tell us about in a few minutes. So this is really exciting. Now, going back to the slides, Chris, if we can just scroll to my journey with this whole thing, it started with Grant for the Web, and that's where a lot of people in this community's journeys have started, like Douglas's. And if you just flip to the next slide, Chris. Now, when you hear about web monetization, what do some people think about? What words come to mind? I hear from Charles, advertising. Anything else that comes to mind? tracking, selling users' data. Those are the things that came to my mind before I discovered the Web Monetization Standard 2. Dominique says gated communities. Douglas says money. So pop-ups. So certainly these are all things that came to my mind before I discovered the Web Monetization Standard. I thought of web monetization as ads, affiliate marketing, pay-per-view, freemium models, influencer marketing, brand ambassadors. What the Web Monetization Standard is actually something new and different. And so Chris, if you can pop to the next slide. So technically, it's a new proposed browser API standard. Basically with that browser API standard, you're generating a microstream of, sorry, I'm just, you're generating a microstream from, for payments to go from the user directly to a website that's being viewed, or a piece of digital content that's being viewed. Basically, this is also a new, more equitable way for creators to earn micropayments from the time that people spend on their content in the digital space. And so if we just click to the next slide, and then I'm gonna just, can you click on that, Chris? Because that should open up a link. Now, this is Amber Case, who was one of the Mozilla Foundation Fellows. And Amber has been doing a whole pile of work into this, and she does a really good job of explaining the need for this. So we're just going to take a moment and listen to her.
I'll need to take off my headphones probably, right?
Yeah, you will.
Of a couple of options for surviving online, and that is either closed marketplaces where you are technically the product. If Etsy or Instagram or Kickstarter or Facebook or any of these places go down, or Patreon, you don't have access to any of those groups. You are really living and dying by their rules, and they can change those rules at any point in time or just suddenly lose funding. So people have. And then there is another version of that, which is the kind of recurring subscription. At the high level, you can work your way into Netflix and have your original indie content streamed there if you're lucky, or you can use Patreon and you can be making videos all the time about how you should support, how your patrons should support you and make all of these benefits. And when I talk with creators about these models, they say, hey, look, I'm a dancer. I just want to dance. I don't want to sit there on my computer all day. I just want to produce content and have people support it. And then, of course, we have the classic, the data selling, super invasive advertising. I think Signal posted a post recently where they actually got how granular the information that Facebook and Instagram had on you and made a series of ads. Like, you live in this part of New York and you like ferret racing and you're secretly gay, but you don't actually, but no one knows that, but we know that. And it's just like, wow, this is like, it's just excruciating, right? So, and then when we look at places like The Guardian, like you log online and there's almost zero content. This site, there's like, you get to see 3 sentences and the rest of it is just a total nightmare. So let's think about something new. So a lot of times when I see an industry that's just kind of clogged with these very minimal options, it's ripe for, I don't want to call it disruption because I don't even like that word, but it's time for alternatives. And a lot of those times, those alternatives actually started in the 60s or like usually like generations ago, but people forgot about them. I think a lot of people want to make new entrepreneurs. They love to raise money for things like Facebook because it's very exciting to do something that everybody else has done. But it's very hard to do things that people haven't done before. So we're seeing the beginnings right now of people using micropayments for new and exciting ways. And the minute we get into people playing around with them and having a good time, that's when we know like the industry is starting up. So this is an introduction to micropayments.
Okay. So when we think about like micropayments,
traditionally
Sorry about that.
no worries. So when we're looking at how this whole thing works, is basically what's happening right now is COIL is currently the key web monetization provider. And so they have this $5 US monthly membership, which is designed to help support the creators whose digital resources you spend time on, provided they have web monetized their resources with COIL, and provided you've added sort of a COIL extension to your browser, or you're using the Puma browser. And so as you spend time on that creator's content, micropayments flow from your COIL account into towards their payment pointer, which will end up getting deposited in their digital wallet. And so to web monetize your resources, you can open up a creator's account on COIL. So when everybody received their accounts from COIL, if you've already started and you've already opened it up, and you currently go to look into your settings dashboard, you likely won't see anything in there that'll tell you how to web monetize your content, because you haven't set up a creator's account yet. And so to do that, you can do that with your existing account. It just means that you go to coil.com/creator. And I believe the button says something to the effect of, start web monetizing my content, or something like that. I've actually got it in our resource materials that we've been building. And when you click on that, it'll prompt you to connect with a digital wallet. Now, for those of you that do not wish to connect with a digital wallet, but wish to web monetize your content, we've been creating for the festival some payment pointers to a whole pile of different internet health and social good initiatives. And I've got a link to that at the bottom of our shared document. And with those different digital resources, Chris is actually going to it right now in our community. With these different sort of initiatives, they've all got payment pointers right there. If as you go through and set up a creator's account in COIL, all you have to do is press uphold wallet as your selection in there, and then it'll prompt you to paste in a payment pointer, and you can paste in any of these payment pointers, and then go through the other steps with monetizing your content through COIL. And it'll start to, if people are spending time on this content at the festival and they've got the web monetization browser extension, or they're using Puma browser, then it'll send micropayments to these various different digital sort of internet health and social good initiatives. So yes, that's kind of what's happening with this experiment at the festival. There's all sorts of different types of content that you can web monetize. On that note, we have somebody with us on the call today who has created one of the things that you can web monetize out there. So Douglas, if you and Dominique wouldn't mind sort of taking a moment and introducing Merle to everybody and how they can web monetize their content with Merle, that would be awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Well, so yeah, my name is Douglas Arellanes, and we make this tool called Mural, which is it's not a CMS, a content management system. It's not like a blogging tool like WordPress. What it is a tool for generating a single page web app, which is a thing like scrolly telling. So what it does is you can assemble your video, audio, photos and slideshows and sound, and bring all of these things together into what are called a scrolly telling format. So basically the user then navigates through the story just by scrolling their mouse wheel or using their scroll function on their laptop, or just on a phone just by swiping through it. But the cool thing is that everybody, I mean, there's no having to open up a window and to start the videos or anything like that. I have an example. If you guys don't mind, can I share my screen?
You can, and I've enabled it, so you should be able to.
Okay, thank you. So let me see if I can do this here. Oh, it's okay. Looks like, yeah, all right. I've got to open my system preferences. Oh gosh, okay. Hold on one sec, folks. Let me just get this underway.
So while
Okay.
Douglas is, oh, you got it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so, oh, it says here I need to quit and reopen. Dom, maybe do you have a story that you could jump in here and back me up while I quit and reopen?
I can try.
This is Dominic
Okay.
Smith, by the way. Dominic has been our community outreach person for the project that we did, where we did outreach to a group of artists in the UK, who we commissioned to actually create multimedia works of art using Mural. And so, yeah, as you know, he was a pretty crucial part of our project. And this is probably one of the cooler pieces, because Dominic's a curator. Maybe you want to say a little bit about it, Dom?
Yeah, this was a piece by Melanie King. Melanie King's an artist who I think she won the world. Holds the world record for making the world's biggest cyanotype print down the side of a cliff. And she works with sustainable photographic materials. And actually, Melanie was really interesting because she, as often happens with artists, she asked a lot of questions about sustainability, environmental impact of the technology that we were using. So it really opened our minds to what we were doing with this as well. And then Melanie made a piece when she discovered the place that she lives in the world near Margate will be submerged by water in a very short space of time due to climate change. And she made a piece about using sustainable materials in the darkroom that was also kind of poetically linked to this idea that where she lives will be submerged. So this is Melanie, this is her talking, and you can see how simple.
If I can just jump in here for a sec, Dom. Yeah. The cool thing about this is that she is going to, I mean, she went out and took these photographs of this area in where she lives. And what she did was she actually developed the photographs using seaweed and seawater, which I think is just fantastic in terms of, bringing the whole story absolutely close. But part of the story, part of the project here is that she explains how to actually make your own photographic developer using seawater and using seaweed. And in these videos, she goes out and gathers seaweed and gets splashed by the waves and everything like that. But also you get to see her artwork.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Can I, Dominique, can I ask you to do a quick favor for me? Can you click on the coil extension that you've got in your browser? If everybody looks and they see that little C with the green dot, that green dot indicates that Dominique has a coil membership and he is currently streaming payments to this project right now. And if you just go down and see that, can you click back on that for a second and go down and click on the gift package right there? That is the new tipping feature that Coil's sharing. And so right there, we just saw that this project got tipped $1. And so you've got $10 that everybody can give out at the festival. And I know that you have to put a link to this project in in the chat, Dominique, because I want to go tip that later after the call as well.
Yep, sure.
Awesome.
Okay, sorry, back over to you.
So yeah. Anyway, with Mural, what we've been able to do is to create a tool that allows everyone to actually build these multimedia stories. But more importantly, what we've done is we've built in the support for the payment pointers and everything like that. So basically, all you have to do when you're building your story is to include your payment information, and then then it's already sort of automatically built in when the single page app is generated. And what's also nice about that is that it supports another thing, which is kind of neat about the way that all of this works, which is what's called probabilistic web revenue sharing. So basically, like if you have a group of people who are working together on a project, you can divide up whatever payments you have by however many people there are, and kind of like in a round robin approach, it will just sort of automatically spin around and send each of the different streams to one of the different people on the project, whoever you name there, or the payment pointers. But yeah, these pictures that Melanie King made are just absolutely lovely and quite haunting as well. And I think it's going to serve as a really interesting sort of reminder of what her area looked like in the times before it was underwater. And I mean, it's quite a serious topic, but I think that Melanie, especially in this, as part of our commission, really took the time to think very deeply about everything that's going on in terms of not just climate change, but also really trying to do this kind of work in a very sustainable way, which is something that I really appreciate, especially considering how much hype there is right now about NFTs and the whatnot and the like. So in this way, I think that this is also for artists and for content creators, I think this is a really interesting way to build something new and to hopefully get paid for it.
Yeah, this is very cool. So just so everybody is aware, this is like Mural is one of the platforms that's web monetized out there that you can create content for. Tomorrow's talk that we're giving at 1, we're going to be kind of going through and looking at some of the other platforms out there that you can do that for, but you can do it with, like, you name it, video, your websites, and you can split payment pointers so that different artists, depending on where you're what you're web monetizing, so that different artists are able to share the revenues from those micropayments. There's audio files, so you'll see that can be web monetized. So you'll see a platform at the festival that's doing a treasure hunt called Free Music Archives, and they're basically, that's a place you can share audio files and web monetize those audio files. There's mainstream platforms like YouTube that you can web monetize. And so we'll be going into all of that in tomorrow's session at 1, but you can also start to look through all of that content too over on our Slack channel at Web Monetization Educational Resources, the channel over there. And Chris says that we've got some questions on our documents. So Chris, over to you.
All right, so I'll just throw these out and we can discuss them. Can web monetization help with getting money, say by selling information and not only sharing it? I guess, does that mean, can web monetization provide more of a transactional relationship? For, I guess, I might be interpreting that correctly. Maybe whoever wrote that want to chime in and make sure that we've got the question.
I can explain myself. So as I understand, so with Coil, for example, you have a paid subscription that gives you kind of a pool of money that you're streaming continuously. The question is, instead of giving money to people, can I use the web monetization so I get payments from, let's say, Google by selling my history of web usage?
So currently nobody in the ecosystem is playing with that. And it is not part of Coil's business plan. What I would say, though, is that the underlying protocol, the Interledger protocol, does potentially have the capabilities to do those kinds of transactions. The web monetization API is built on top of that Interledger protocol. There's a project called Rafiki that's looking to expand the capabilities of Interledger protocol to have, basically to be able to send and receive payments through the network. So with web monetization, it doesn't go as deeply as that yet. But I think if you looked at the Interledger protocol layer, and I actually think it's tomorrow, there's a monthly Interledger community call. We can, if you want, we can get you some links in the doc to go deeper into those pieces. And I know that over the course of the next 6 to 18 months, Interledger is getting a lot more development and having those kind of capabilities, which would give you the network to do those kinds of projects or experiments to see how it might work in those contexts. Because at that point, it just becomes a web-based, way that money crosses borders, crosses currencies, and transact over the web. So if you wanted to bundle data, for instance, that could potentially happen with Interledger protocol. Although right now it's still early enough in development that doesn't necessarily work out of the box. And the other thing that I would say that is kind of an interesting experiment that Grant for the Web did fund is something called permanent.org. And they looked at how web monetization could actually be a back end for small data microtransactions. So basically, if I'm updating or backing up something to the cloud, and there is a cost to that, but one photo or a set of 100 photos is a relatively small cost. Could this technology actually do that microtransaction that then settles at the end of the month for that user? That's not exactly what you're talking about, but the team at permanent.org is one of the earlier groups thinking about microtransactions and data transactions.
And so just for everybody, because you've heard mention of Grant for the Web a couple of times, and we haven't explained what it is. Grant for the Web is helping to sort of fund the development of the web monetization ecosystem. And so they're supported by COIL, they're supported by the Mozilla Foundation, by Interledger, and Creative Commons. And and they're funding all sorts of different things. So they're funding creative projects, they're funding sort of educational projects like mine was. They're funding the development of new platforms and tools for web monetizing different work. And so when you start exploring in that web monetization community space, you'll find a variety of people there who are sharing different projects that they're working on and developing in that space. And so it's exciting. And it's, for me, I don't know how many people here remember kind of the early days of the social web, when things were, when you'd be discovering all these cool people's projects and everybody would be supportive of one another and helping each other out and propping each other up. That space is very much like that. And so it's a great space to kind of engage in and get to meet awesome people who have awesome like Douglas.
That's actually a good segue into our next question, which was, COIL is one of the many possible providers that may appear in the future. Is it planned to support many providers with the same web monetization setup, or will this be provider dependent? This is such a great question, because it really does speak to why COIL, Interledger Foundation, others involved in pushing and advancing this tech have really focused on making it at the protocol and standards level. So yes, right now COIL is the only consumer-based provider for web monetization. But it itself hopes not to be the last or the only for very long. And Interledger Foundation via Grant for the Web and other programs will help to spark new ideas for new creators, for new providers. There's all kinds of different business models and ideas that could use this technology. But let me stress that everything that's done to accept COIL at this point would be standardized and ready to accept future providers. So all the work that we're doing with Grant for the Web, all the work that COIL is doing, is setting up a world where Douglas's and Dominic's story, could be used web monetization on providers 2, 3, 4, 5, and infinity. So that's why it's built on that standards layer. It will work with all future and upcoming web monetization providers and mechanics. So that's a big reason why that's designed that way. And the other thing I'd say about COIL is that they've also released, I think there's a really great documentation that was released about a year, 2 years ago. That's so you want to become a web monetization service provider. They've released all of their code and their documentation publicly for others to look at, follow, fork, etc. So that is pretty cool. Let me see. We got a couple more questions. I know we're running out. What is the goal or goals of the grand web monetization tipping experiment? Erica can jump in here in a second. I'd say at the headline level, we've been working in this space for a while, and we've understood for some time, especially through the learning of our community and our grantees, that only streaming was a narrow lane for the kind of possibilities that web monetization, whether we talked about this kind of data storage, or we're talking about two-way payments and an open payment network, or whether we're just talking about giving the user more agency about how they might want to use their web monetization capability. So this is the first time that anything other than streaming has been available with this technology at MozFest as an experiment. So the big goal is just to see how content creators, how users interact differently. How does that change motivation? How does it change the capacity to earn? How does it change the kind of content that we create? One of the negatives about streaming only is that it does continue to reward attention economy mechanics. So, so this diversifies that and expands the capability. So the reason we called it an experiment, because it really is just that. This is the first time that anybody really in the wild has been able to play with this additional capability of web monetization. And so even some of the questions that I've been kind of going back and forth in chat, we'll see, what you can see from your digital wallet after you've done a bunch of tipping. How does that track? Can you start to look at those behaviors better? How do content creators create content in that world where they're looking for single payments? Does this unlock a whole bunch of new capabilities for how we interact together? So that really is the experimentation right now. If I could boil it down, just learning, seeing, what happens differently in the ecosystem, both negatively and positively. And I know I'm rushing, but we have one more question I want to honor is web monetization constrained to micropayments, or is it just the way currently COIL is using it? Alternatives like Flatter that pays at the end of the month and not continuously. So I think yes is the answer to all of that. One, that is COIL's business model. So they have very much been looking at the streaming, the micropayments, smaller transactions. I'd also say the Interledger protocol is actually optimized and strongest doing smaller and micro, not just micro, but smaller transactions. That's one of the things that the Interledger Foundation we're most excited about, is that it actually handles small transactions well. It thrives in that space compared to other more laborious technical or even financial regulatory ways in which we would move money. And that means that when you don't have a efficient way to do smaller transactions, those carry higher fees, or they're not offered, in parts of the world where smaller transactions actually flowing back and forth would be of huge benefit. All that being said, that doesn't mean that that's all it can do. But it sort of does start doing the small efficiently and cheaply. And we feel like in terms of our financial inclusion mandate, that's a pretty exciting possibility.
Yeah. And so, and on the note of just exciting, if you start to explore around in some of the spaces at the festival and look on the Web Monetized Assets channel, there's some exciting stuff that's starting to crop up from some people who've started to experiment with web monetization at the festival. And specifically here, I'd love to kind of spotlight, if you look on the Slack channel, there's a Slack channel that is Ukrainian emergence sessions, and that is a woman by the name of Stanislava, and I don't remember her last name right now, but she came up with the idea of trying to bring people together to see both talk about and see about ways that we can help people and get aid to people in the Ukraine at the moment. These are all people who are talking about how to do this, and they're using the emergent sessions for it that Gunnar and Philo have set up. So we encourage people to kind of go and explore and see what's possible, and use your imaginations. Like, you know, any way that you want to experiment with playing with web monetization through the festival, we are here to help you and support you. And you can set up multiple payment pointers. So I've got some of my payment pointers going to the Ukrainian project, where I have some other payment pointers that are going to an environmental project I'm working on, and other ones that are going to support sort of some of the looking at different sustainable funding methods for creatives. So it's kind of, the possibilities are just limited by one's imagination. And on that note, we've set up a spatial chat channel, which actually isn't set up yet because I only got it a short time ago. So I still have to make it look all pretty and add things to it. But we will be around there for office hours. If you want to hop on a podcast with us this week and talk about your projects and how you're web monetizing them, I'm going to be setting up a live broadcasting podcast going out all week from the festival, and it will be recording so that we can then play with it with hyper audio, which is another thing to check out, and record your sessions and let Mark know if you're game, Mark Boas, if you're game to play with hyper audio with your sessions, because that'll all be web monetized for after the festival. So